Anyways, good morning, everybody, and yes, it's still morning. Thanks for being flexible today. I know the mayor's got a lot on his plate. I want to welcome you first to Whitman Walker Health. I'm Don Blanchon, I'm the executive director, and on behalf of our 13,000 patients, more than 3,000 of whom are living with HIV and living well, and 160 employees and nearly 500 volunteers, we're grateful that you're here. We're grateful that the mayor and his team is here to announce the latest HIV statistics for the district. I just want to thank, there's a few people I just want to thank from my team, Tiffany Gilliard, Megan Davies, and a few others around the room who've helped. And I also, the mayor's team's been great. You guys know how this stuff goes. It takes an army to do these things, and I want to say, thank you for being here and being flexible with us this morning. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the District of Columbia, Vince Gray, who's going to come up and talk about the great news we have today.
Well, thank you very much. It is still morning. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming out to be a part of this. We did have a mayor council breakfast, which almost became a mayor council lunch. This is our first one since we came back from the council recess. So even though there were only 3 items on the agenda, they each took about an hour each. And there was a lot of interest and a lot of depth to those. But in any event, I want to thank you all for coming out. Delighted to be here with a number of members of our administration. Our Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, B.B. Otero, is here. And you will hear from our one of our newest members of the administration, Dr. Garcia, who will talk about some of the results as well. I want to thank them for being there. I want to thank you. Where's Don? Oh, there he is. I want to thank you, Don, for hosting us, and I want to congratulate you and your staff on what I think is now 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
Whitman Walker was up the street. Was it 1407 S Street?
So up the street in 87, over here in 93, and about to be down the street in 2014.
All right, but all in the 14th Street.
We love the corridor. We love the Logan Circle area.
Well, don't go anywhere.
We're not.
This corridor is thriving and growing and developing, isn't it?
It sure is.
In any event, the services, the very services that Whitman Walker provides now and has provided for such a long time, which would include HIV education, prevention, testing, and medical adherence, care management, and key factors that are important to our progress. Those things you do are the very things that we know are making a contribution, and hopefully will continue to make a contribution to us bringing under control this dread disease that we now have been with for about 30 years. I think we had the first case that was diagnosed in 1983 in the city. We've had thousands of people who have contracted the disease since, and unfortunately about 50% of them, I think, have died as a result of it. I think what is phenomenal is when you look at what is a relatively brief time that we've been with this disease, the extent to which it's been brought under control. We don't have a cure yet, obviously, although there are views that some places, some nations in Europe are beginning to experiment in ways that may lead to a cure. But AIDS, HIV and AIDS no longer a death sentence. And the quality of life that people can experience who are living with AIDS really is quite phenomenal by comparison to the past, when people who contracted full-blown AIDS really were subject to some pretty dire outcomes. I was hoping that the chair of our health committee would be here, but she's not. She probably still in the breakfast. Councilmember Yvette Alexander. Maybe she will join us. Again, I want to thank Dr. Garcia for having joined us. He's the new director of the Department of Health, and I want to thank his team for the work that's been done to be able to get us to where we are today. I think we're turning the corner. We have an AIDS commission that we've been working with. I don't think I've missed a meeting of the commission. and some of the work that's been done, you know, working on treating the whole person and establishing treatment on demand. Those are pretty lofty goals, and those are things that we have really made enormous progress on. And we think those things that we've implemented have resulted in some of the decreases that we see that are outlined in the report. Let me just cite a few highlights, and then I'd like to bring Dr. Garcia up to talk in more detail. First of all, the number of newly reported HIV cases has decreased by 46% during the period 2007 to 2011, and that is really very good news. Of the newly diagnosed cases in 2011, 80% were linked to care. 80% were linked to care within 3 months, which is a major improvement from 2005, when the number was only 50% who were linked with care within 3 months. Obviously, our goal is to be able to get to 100% within 3 months and even sooner. A number of the newly diagnosed cases of HIV that are attributable to injection drug use, get this, decreased by 80%, which again is a phenomenal step forward. I think that argues for the efficacy and the prudence of the needle exchange program that we had such difficulty putting in place. I think the first program was in New Haven, Connecticut, and then there were hundreds of programs that were developed in other cities in the aftermath, and yet we had to stand by because there were those who wanted to impose a rider on our budget that would not permit us to implement needle exchange programs. You know, it's, excuse me for getting into this. No, I'm not going to apologize. But it's another absolutely unconscionable experience to which the District of Columbia is subjected. And we're about to experience another one, and that is a federal shutdown. And by the way, for those of you who haven't noticed, we're not a federal agency, all right? We're not the Health and Human Services Department, or the Agriculture Department, or the Defense Department, or any of those agencies which OMB has oversight of. But yet, the way this thing is unfolding, it could result in that kind of experience for us once again. The reduction in injection drug use as being a factor in contracting the virus and then AIDS, the reduction occurred over a period of 2001 to 2011. Again, we know the needle exchange program has had a huge role in that. The number of persons with HIV who died has decreased by 41% from 2007 to 2011. There was a new record of 138,000 publicly supported HIV tests in 2012, which is up from 122,000 in 2011. But when you go back to 2007, we only had 43,000 tests that were actually conducted, and now we're up to 138,000, which is phenomenal. We distributed more than 5.7 million male and female condoms in 2012, which is a tenfold increase from 2007. Of course, we have no idea how many we used, but we hope that they did contribute. They did contribute to good health care. We actually got, back to needle exchange again, we got off the street 550,000 needles in 2012, and that is an increase over 2011. In 2011 we had 340,000. We're now up to 550,000, which is a huge increase. You know, maybe we'll get to the point where people are not, injecting needles in themselves for drug use. That would be the best outcome, but until we get to that stage, we need to make sure that people are using clean needles if that's where they are. We still are in an epidemic state. I I wish we could say differently, but again, we're going in the right direction. The epidemic continues to disproportionately affect people who are African American, Latino, and probably fairly obviously GLBT communities in the city. We're continuing to engage in collaborative efforts with organizations like Whitman Walker, and one of the things that's good is that we've continued to mainstream, if you will, extend the way in which we're connected with organizations. Not just the traditional health organizations anymore, but we're expanding the scope well beyond that. Again, let me say that I am personally committed. I've got my own test annually, and when I get my test, I will do as I've done in the past. I will publish the results so that people know what the results are. And hopefully the same kind of results I've gotten in the past. I don't think there's any question, but everybody in this room is committed to seeing the end of the epidemic. In the next few weeks, we're going to name some new members that made the Mayor's Commission on HIV/AIDS, and bring some additional folks into this battle. I think, right, Dr. Garcia, we're seeing the prevalence rate go down. That's the one, a little bit anyway. The prevalence rate is hard to see a reduction in. One reason, of course, is for a positive reason, that is life is being prolonged, so that people who have it are living much longer, and that's a good thing. And hopefully the prevalence rate will go down too, because the incidence rate is going down. But with the prevalence rate, to the extent it's staying the same, because there are longer term cases, it means that people are living longer, and that is absolutely a good thing with the pharmacological advancements that we have made. That having been said, I want to ask Dr. Garcia if you will come up. Please join me in welcoming